To CBS and Dan Rather.
This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good evening. For the first time, a tobacco company was found legally liable today for contributing to the death of a cigarette smoker. But it was a qualified defeat for the tobacco interests, so much so that both sides managed to claim victory after today's verdict in a federal court in Newark, New Jersey. Richard Schlesinger has our report.
Anthony Cipollone made history today. After a 5-year legal battle, a federal jury agreed with him that the Liggett Tobacco Company was partially responsible for his wife's death from lung cancer, and that's a first. The jury also awarded Cipollone $400,000 in damages, another historic loss for the tobacco industry, which has never been ordered to pay anything to smokers or their families.
We think that it would be overturned on appeal. We intend to appeal it for a variety of reasons, and I think that it was born more from sympathy for Mr. Cipollone.
Rose Cipollone died in 1984 after smoking for 40 years. She started smoking before the first Surgeon General's report linking cigarettes to cancer. Before she died, Mrs. Cipollone told lawyers she started smoking because of commercials that made cigarettes seem glamorous and safe.
Philip Morris is the one cigarette suggested by nose and throat doctors as definitely less irritating. So it's gotta be good.
Attorneys for Cipollone charged the Liggett Group, Philip Morris, and Lorillard tobacco companies misrepresented the safety of their cigarettes in advertisements and suppressed scientific evidence that smoking causes cancer.
The jury concluded that Liggett should have warned its consumers as far back as 1940 about the health hazards of cigarette smoking, and they failed to do that.
What made this trial different from earlier ones was a stack of internal tobacco industry documents introduced by Cipollone's attorneys. Those documents, according to the lawyers, show the cigarette companies knew their products were dangerous. A letter from a senior research chemist at Lorillard complimented the scientist who established a link between smoking and cancer, saying his work was above reproach, as usual. Another memo from a laboratory doing research for Liggett says plainly, materials present in cigarette tobacco are cancer-causing, cancer-promoting, and poisonous.
There's never been a case presented with this much detail, and there's never been a case quite like this against the tobacco industry.
In their closing arguments, Cipollone's lawyers said his wife was already addicted to cigarettes by the time the Surgeon General's report on the hazards of smoking was made public. The lawyers said the tobacco companies engaged in an evil-minded conspiracy to conceal the dangers of cigarettes. But the tobacco companies insisted Mrs. Cipollone made a free choice to smoke and could have stopped if she wanted to.
Well, there was some good news for the tobacco industry in today's verdict. The jury exonerated Liggett, Lorillard, and Philip Morris of charges they conspired to mislead the public about the hazards of cigarettes. And in another decision that can only be viewed as a victory for the tobacco companies, the jury decided Mrs. Cipollone was 80% responsible for her own death, largely agreeing with tobacco industry claims that smoking is a matter of choice. So while neither side got all it wanted, you can be sure the anti-smoking lawyers will see this decision as their foot in the courthouse door, opening the way for hundreds of similar suits that are pending across the country. The tobacco industry could have done a lot worse, but will appeal this verdict anyway in an attempt to hold back those lawsuits, which could be enormously costly. Charles?
Richard? The federal government also lost one in court today. The U.S. Supreme Court rejected Reagan administration arguments and ruled the federal government may be held liable for vaccines certified safe that turn out not to be. Law correspondent Rita Braver reports.
Each year, about 10 Americans who take the Sabin oral polio vaccine suffer mysterious adverse reactions that trigger the disease. Today, the Supreme Court gave some of those individuals the opportunity to hold the government accountable for their illness. The decision came in the case of a 9-year-old Pennsylvania boy.
And his legs are paralyzed, his upper torso is essentially paralyzed, and one of the worst aspects of it is that his chest is paralyzed.
His family tried to sue the National Institutes of Health, claiming it violated federal health regulations in licensing the form of vaccine manufactured by Lederle Laboratories. The administration argued that its licensing plan was valid because it balanced overall public health benefits against individual tragedies. And the Reagan Justice Department asked the Supreme Court to block the suit under a federal law that exempts the government from such charges when discretionary policy-type decisions are involved. But speaking for a unanimous court, Justice Thurgood Marshall announced, "We intend specifically to reject the government's argument." The court ruled that procedures for approval of vaccines are not policy issues. Therefore, the government has no discretion to deviate from mandated procedure and can be sued for doing so.
I think the essence of the decision as it came down today is that when the government violates its own mandatory regulations, it has to stand accountable.
Administration officials say they're still studying what impact the decision will have on federal procedures for licensing, not just the polio vaccine, but other vaccines as well. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Supreme Court.
At the International AIDS Conference in Stockholm, a French expert said today that the number of cases reported in Europe is doubling every 11 months. And new cases of AIDS in this country also are being reported with startling frequency. CBS News medical correspondent Susan Spencer is covering the conference.
Conditions which are thought to...
The news from the U.S., the country with 3/4 of the world's AIDS cases, doesn't get any better.
In the United States now, there have been over 65,000 cases reported. Cases are now being reported at the rate of about one every 14 minutes.
Studies presented here show that the makeup of new cases is changing. Fewer homosexuals are becoming infected, more IV drug users.
If we ever do get large-scale heterosexual spread, it'll probably be because we didn't stop the spread among IV drug users.
In Europe, where 30% of the AIDS cases are among drug users, Holland and Scotland have tried a novel way to stop the spread. Needle exchange programs, encouraging addicts to trade dirty needles for clean ones. At the AIDS conference, both reported great success.
Majority, and that's about 85% of the people using the needle and syringe exchange, stopped needle sharing totally.
The major objection to handing out needles and trying to stop AIDS is that it may encourage drug use, but the Europeans say no.
The numbers of young people starting with hard drugs, is getting lower and lower.
People are going to inject whether we give them clean equipment or not, so we may as well make it as safe for ourselves and as safe for them as possible.
San Francisco does have a highly publicized program called Bleach Man to encourage addicts to clean their own needles. But politically, it's much harder to get communities to accept the idea of simply handing them out. Programs in both Boston and New York are on hold, to the dismay of some officials.
It's not an absolute panacea. It will not eliminate all sharing. The goal is to reduce sharing to as low as possible.
The best idea, of course, would be to end all drug abuse. But with that unlikely, many AIDS experts are eager to see even this second best idea put into action. Susan Spencer, CBS News, Stockholm.
The Food and Drug Administration ordered stronger warning labels today on products containing aspirin, advising parents against giving aspirin to children with symptoms of chickenpox or flu. The new mandatory labels would warn in the strongest language yet that giving aspirin to such children could result in Reye's syndrome, a rare but serious illness. Now that the handshakes and hoopla of the Moscow summit are over, U.S. and Soviet officials are getting down to the nuts and bolts, rehearsing for on-site inspections of nuclear missile sites under the treaty activated in Moscow. Pentagon correspondent David Martin watched a dry run by the U.S. Army today.
If you were the Soviets now, you would come in here and I would brief you as to the treaty-limited items at this location.
A Pershing II missile ready for inspection at Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. This time it's for reporters. Next time it will be for Soviet inspectors come to verify the INF treaty.
These inspections will begin on July 1st and continue in one form or another for 13 years. When that happens, the two superpowers will be embarked on something that's never been done before.
Just as we did today, the Soviet inspectors will board a military transport at Dulles Airport outside Washington, D.C. Unlike us, the Soviets will get to choose which of the 11 INF sites in the U.S. they visit. Although there were no Soviet inspectors along today, there were some Soviet reporters who never thought they'd see this day.
Certainly nobody expected that there will be such a big turn in our relations.
It may be a big turn, but the officer in charge of these inspections says there will be strict limits.
It's not an anywhere, anytime inspection treaty. The prudent thing is to go in with very little trust.
Most of Redstone Arsenal will be off limits to the Soviets. Some of what they inspect, like these ammo bunkers, no longer contain items covered by the treaty. But they once did, so the Soviets get to look inside. They will have 24 hours to complete their inspection. American inspectors will be looking at much the same things at Soviet missile sites, but they will be much busier since the Soviets have so many more missiles.
That the baseline period requires you to check every single installation. That means that in a 60-day period, I will have conducted 133 inspections.
That will require non-stop contacts between the U.S. and Soviet militaries, two antagonists learning to live together on a daily basis. That could turn out to be as important a benefit of the INF Treaty as the destruction of the missiles themselves. David Martin, CBS News, Redstone Arsenal, Alabama.
There were further examples today of the extraordinary liberalization going on in the Soviet Union. The Soviet government allowed some U.S. Eskimos from Alaska to fly in and visit their cousins across the Bering Strait in Siberia. It's the first time that border's been open since 1948. In Moscow, Mikhail Gorbachev opened talks today with a senior representative of the Pope. Bert Quint has that story.
It was an historic meeting, the first between a Soviet Communist Party General Secretary and a Pope's right-hand man. And Vatican Secretary of State Agostino Cardinal Casaroli left the meeting saying a line of communication finally has been established between the Vatican and this officially atheistic state. Now, he said, we can talk about religious freedom.
That before we had no means to speak about, now seems accepted that we can speak about it.
Officially, the Cardinal came here for celebrations of the 1000th anniversary of Christendom in Russia, organized by the Russian Orthodox Church, which is permitted to function, but under tight state control. He carried a letter to Gorbachev from the Pope, apparently asking that other Christians be given the right to worship. The Pope reportedly is pressing now for recognition of the country's largest underground church, the Ukrainian Catholic Church, which pays allegiance to Rome. But there are millions of other Christians denied the right or the place to practice their faith. Like these, seen in a videotape shot by an amateur and just smuggled out of the Ukraine. Their church was closed years ago, and it's only now, with the new air of freedom in this country, that they dare protest. And there are even Russian Orthodox dissenters who must worship secretly because they say their church has sold out to the regime in order to survive. The Russian Orthodox Church has resisted the granting of religious freedom to other Christians. It enjoys a near monopoly on legalized religion and would resent losing it. That poses a problem for Gorbachev. He doesn't want to anger the Orthodox Church, but he knows the Vatican can be a strong friend or a fierce enemy. Bert Quint, CBS News, Moscow.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Frank Courier on the Great Lakes, no longer as disastrously great as they were, and David Browning on television in China. What do you suppose they make of Mickey and Donald?
This house is just lovely, but to the Stevens, it's so much more. They planned the future next to that fireplace. Celebrated holidays full of laughter in this dining room, and whispered countless bedtime stories right here. This is where their heart is. This is their home. That's why only one paint was ever good enough. Benjamin Moore. They wouldn't settle for anything less. Would you?
When something means so much, see your Benjamin Moore dealer.
61, 62, 63.
Independent laboratory testing proves that Sargent's new fast-acting flea and tick collars kill 3.5 times more fleas in the first 6 hours than the other leading collar.
I can't keep up.
And Sargent's new fast-acting collar keeps on killing fleas faster for a full 5 months.
Enough already.
So counters who count Sargent's fleas must work 3.5 times faster than counters for the competition.
4.
Sargent's new fast-acting collar.
I hope you're happy. I'm exhausted.
My wife, every night she disappears into the bathroom. Who knows what's going on? But whatever it is, it makes her feel really good. See?
Clean away stains and freshen dentures with Efferdent every night.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus.
Israel brushed off protests by the U.S. government today and forced an Arab-American political activist to return to the United States. Mubarak Awad is an advocate of nonviolent resistance, but the Israelis charge he was a leader of the uprising in their occupied territories. Mark Phillips has the story.
As the plane carrying Mubarak Awad prepared to leave Tel Aviv today, Palestinian laborers were working in the fields bordering the airport, saying that for every Mubarak Awad deported, there were thousands of activists left behind. The Israelis had tried to avoid making a public spectacle of Awad's deportation, transferring him to the plane today in an enclosed van. But if the intent was to stifle the debate that has raged around the Awad case, it hasn't worked.
It's like asking, would you expel a Gandhi or a Martin Luther King? I'm afraid to say, if you put this question frontally to Shamir and his people, he would probably say yes.
The Israeli government didn't mind that Awad urged Arabs not to throw stones at soldiers, as they continued to do today.
If we are able to produce and have some small victories in some other actions, other throwing stones, then we will be in a victorious way.
But the government did mind that Awad also urged Palestinians not to buy Israeli products, pay Israeli taxes, or carry Israeli ID cards. The government claimed Awad was inciting the rebellion, was funded by the PLO, and was working to destroy Israel.
Now on the handles of the Arab knives there is a new inscription, peace. And anyone who shows you this handle and conceals the blade is a moderate.
If Mubarak Awad left here a Palestinian hero and an internationally known figure, he has the Israelis to thank for it. Awad lived in relative obscurity until the Israeli government decided to make a big issue of him. The Arab workers at the airport watched Mubarak Awad leave today, saying one day he'd come back to a Palestinian state. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Tel Aviv.
Hey, isn't this Canon's new personal zoom copier?
No, it's the Queen Mary.
The zoom feature really magnifies my image.
Or cuts you down to size.
And Canon replaceable cartridges sure make it easy to maintain. Like my other PCs.
Well, have you come to praise the PC-7 or to buy it?
Listen, Canon's personal zoom copier is the newest star in my family.
Guess you can't pick your relatives.
Get 2 free color cartridges with purchase of a PC3, PC5, or 5L.
My new tango student, attractive. I moved in for a closer look.
Shall we begin?
That was a mistake. His breath.
Is there something wrong?
I felt trapped. There was no place to hide.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
How could I forget my scope? Bad breath germs, pulverized. Okay, where is she?
Oh, no.
Ready to tango?
Oh, yes. What a difference. For a positive reaction, the power of scope is the 1, 2, 3.
Raisin Nut Bran tastes better. Tastes better than Kellogg's, better than Post. It's got juicy nut-covered raisins and big, crisp flakes.
People have a better time around Raisin Nut Bran.
The best tasting Raisin Bran.
Your daughter's wedding.
At last.
And you've got dirty dentures.
I just soaked them.
Soaking's not enough. Brushing with Denture Cream Denture toothpaste cleans almost twice as clean.
Twice as clean.
Brush with Denture Cream or Denture Gel.
The Supreme Court agreed today to decide whether a new system for sentencing people convicted of federal crimes is unconstitutional. The new rules limiting the leeway of judges in setting sentences took effect in November. Several federal judges have refused to abide by the new rules. No matter which way the Supreme Court decides, thousands of federal convicts will face resentencing. Seems only yesterday that we were hearing about the Great Lakes overflowing and Lakesiders manning the barricades. Now, to no little consternation, the waters are falling. Frank Courier reports.
The high water war is over on the Great Lakes. As if someone pulled the plug, submerged beaches, docks, and breakwaters have reappeared. Water levels are plunging unexpectedly from a record high 2 years ago, leaving lake scholars, ship captains, and shore dwellers baffled by nature.
It was about up to just over the seawall, so it's gone down about 3 foot.
In 1986, wind-driven waves and high water defied sandbaggers and dike builders, battering the shoreline in 8 states, crashing through seawalls, swallowing beaches, and destroying houses. After $200 million in property damage, residents believed hydrologists who predicted the waters would keep rising.
I'll tell you, it's a hard, sickening situation when you see that water coming up and there's nothing you can do about it.
Many tried. Near villages like Saugatuck, Michigan, where the main shore road is still washed out, lakefront dwellers invested heavily in the battle, building armored barriers or moving whole houses 100 yards back from the edge of the eroding bluffs. Cities like Milwaukee spent millions to raise marina piers and docks, only to see Lake Michigan drop abruptly.
They really overreacted and raised their docks anywhere from 4 to 6 feet, and now they have to have ladders to get back down to the boats.
Though scientists disagree over why the Great Lakes water levels keep fluctuating, this latest sharp drop, they say, is a result of rainfall over the lakes hitting a 100-year low last spring. Dredging is now a common sight in many Great Lakes harbors and marinas, where receding waters have left behind tons of sand at the bottom of navigation channels. So shallow, the shipping industry, in particular steel makers, must reduce the tonnage on ore boats by 10%, what could cost them tens of millions of dollars.
We're having better times now after a decade of very tough times, billion-dollar losses, and this is something we don't need.
But the Great Lakes are still evolving, say experts, who were fooled by this sudden plunge and remain cautious about celebrating or predicting.
If you look back on historic records, we know that lake levels will fluctuate. It's just a matter of when.
And how much? For if the current dry spell lasts beyond summer, lake watchers say, the waters could drop another foot. For now, the war is over, and after 2 restless years, the Great Lakes are at peace with the shore. Frank Courier, CBS News, Saugatuck, Michigan.
Checking in. We interrupt this transaction for a reminder.
So what's your approach?
There's one travel tip it pays to remember.
We've got one good option.
Choosing the card that actually pays you cash. Cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
Daddy loves you too.
Nice job, everybody.
It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
If you thought you had to give up comfort to get a close shave, Norelco says, think again. Their revolutionary shaving system shaves skin close in a way that's incredibly comfortable. As the hair enters the chamber, the patented lift and cut system lifts each hair and holds it a split second before a blade cuts it. So it's possible to shave skin close without the blades even touching the skin. Norelco Rotatract. We made close comfortable.
This diver has a thin, powerful seal, but it's not on his mask. It's on his dentures. A seal so thin, so powerful, that more than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth holds closer to real.
If I don't get a good start in the morning, I might feel peaked. I hate that.
Wheaties, 100% whole wheat, naturally low in sugar. That's champion nutrition.
What the big boys eat.
Every night, American television networks fight for the biggest share of the viewing audience. In China, there's only one network. China has the world's largest population. Those two facts taken together have producers in Hollywood beginning to salivate. David Browning reports.
It's Sunday evening in China, and people are heading home to watch one of the country's most popular TV shows. Heading home to watch Mi Lao Shu and Tang Lao Ya, otherwise known as Mickey and Donald. American TV has come to China in a cultural revolution that would make the late Chairman Mao mumble. The Chinese see cartoons from Disney, movies from Fox, miniseries from CBS and Lorimar. And with Chinese buyers snapping up TV sets faster than stores can supply them, American program executives see big possibilities.
The word we heard was on The Sound of Music, which was done 2 parts. We think about 650 million people saw what we had done, which is pretty interesting.
Bill Cosby eat your heart out.
That's correct.
So far, the money isn't big. Studios supply the programs for free in exchange for the right to sell commercials to advertisers hoping to get a toehold in China. Most programs are dubbed, except for truly untranslatable things such as the singing of Ethel Merman.
There's no people like show people. They smile when they...
And what do the Chinese make of all this?
They like to see what people are wearing, what the cars look like, what the apartments look like. They really are opening up to modern American culture for the first time.
And for the first time, they are venturing into that strange and exotic place, Hollywood. A delegation from Shanghai Television visiting Lorimar Studios to take some meetings and scout for new shows. Even in translation, they liked Full House, in which the men take care of the kids. Their leader, Chen Wenbing, says more men in China are staying home with children as ladies like these go to work. We understand this show. They liked Alf. But were puzzled about what Alf was. Lorimar executive Michael J. Solomon tried to explain.
This is Alf. No. We were very friendly with his agent.
And so it was that in the land of the agent and the deal, the Chinese did lunch and closed a deal for more programming. After all, once you've shown them the two Mrs. Grenvilles, there's no turning back. David Browning, CBS News, Hollywood.
And that's the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good night.
Headaches, backaches. The pain reliever unbeaten for all these everyday ailments is Tylenol. And Tylenol won't irritate your stomach like aspirin or even ibuprofen can. So choose Tylenol. It's tough on pain, easy on your stomach.
Just a sprinkle.
A day
helps keep
odor away.
And now with new unscented, Shower to Shower has 4 ways to help you feel drier and fresher between showers.
Have you had your sprinkle today?
Major appliances that aren't brand new can scare potential buyers away. If your real estate company can't protect them, you're not listed with the right real estate company because you're not listed with an ERA broker. How can you help your home sell faster? Protect the major appliances. If your real estate company can't do that, then you're not listed with the right real estate company because you're not listed with an ERA broker.
I'm pretty good at baseball, but at SLR cameras, I was really green. Then I got Canon EOS, the only autofocus SLR with the green zone. The green zone makes EOS mistake-proof. Plus, EOS lenses have computers and motors built in, so anyone can shoot like a pro. Even him. Hey, you see? Canon EOS, more than autofocus, easier than ever.
Get over $500 in travel savings when you buy any Canon camera, and you could win a 1988 Mercury Sabre.
I'm Robert Krulwich.
And I'm Faith Daniels. Tomorrow, former President Jimmy Carter on his new book about the outdoors.
And later this week, Felicia Rashad on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.
Coming up next on Eyewitness News, more questions tonight about Fisk University and its finances. The university owes Nashville thousands of dollars in back taxes. And how much money should Metro spend on public education? We'll find out how the council may answer that question. Plus, take a look at Tennessee's pitch for the Super Collider. Join us for those stories and more coming up right after this.
I've had some good luck on the NASCAR circuit in my career, and there's nothing like the feeling of coming home a winner. Hi, I'm